Hello, hello YouTube. I thought I would bring you some of my extra night footage that I had because I felt bad for not showing enough of the level 18 side of the build. In my last video, I only showed off like 3 or so clips of being level 18 and the rest were level 40, and so I thought, you know, I have this footage. It's pretty good footage. It shows off what early invasions feel like and look like. Why not? And so here we are. I wanted to do some more Knight Boy stuff. I love being the basic sword and board knight. It makes me happy. And thanks to patch 110, single straight swords have never been in a better spot. The fact that you can stumble just about anybody with a single straight sword swing, at least with the initial straight sword swing, your follow-up's not so much. It means you have something. Look at this, guard break into nothing. Oh man, don't you love it when the internet just steals things from you? When it reaches its long, spindly, and somewhat gnarled fingers into your pocket and takes what's rightfully yours? I hate that. It bothers me immensely. But hey, at level 18, silly misrecord lightning crits, even when you don't really have much of a dexterity stat to speak of, because nothing really scales terribly well at level 18 with +3 weapons, you still deal the good damage. It's a good time. And I had so many moments where I kind of felt bad for the level 18 side of things, but I wanted to be here because I love Castle Stormveil. It's a neat environment and I want to play there more. I love the verticality of the zone. I still recall to this day when I first played in Castle Stormveil with my brother when the game was new on release, and we were just amazed at the verticality and the size of Stormveil Castle. Little did we know how large the rest of the game would be, and it still makes me happy to this day knowing about this little area, and it makes me sad that I don't get to invade here more often, unless you are a much lower level. I want to make a character who's above level 150. I don't know where. I don't know if they'll be at 150 just to catch the people hitting New Game Plus, or if I'll go all the way to 1 or 200, or if I'll do something in between. I do want to try out that bracket. Some people seem to have some success there. There seems to be a good amount of activity, and I'm curious to know if at those high levels if I will show up at Stormveil Castle again, because it feels like every time I do some invading and I find people at Stormveil Castle at the more usual levels, 60, 80, 125, 137, it feels like the only people at Stormveil Castle are gankers, and they're only there not to, you know, complete the level, but rather they've cleared out a courtyard and they just want to pin you in a corner somewhere. Or they like Stormveil Castle because all the mobs are inconsequential when you're that high of a level, I don't know. But I would love to catch people on the New Game Plus cycle. Heck, that's one of the reasons why I like invading at the sometimes lower levels, like 80, 60, 70, whatever, because you get to see people in more environments than the same old that you find time and again at meta level. You know, the Faramazula Dragon Temple invasions that last 20 seconds because then you get fog-walled repeatedly. Or perhaps the big old door before Radigan in that narrow hallway where you show up and then immediately get fog-walled. Or they just gank you because, well, it's a tiny little space. Why wouldn't they? They have every homeroom advantage. I felt bad for a couple of these fellows in these invasions. I couldn't help it. Just they died in a shameful way, or gravity or something like that. You know, you didn't want it to turn out like that. But then it has occurred to me somewhat recently that the host has a lot of advantages even if he doesn't know about it. At this lower level, maybe not so, but I'm talking about invasions in general. And I wanted to talk a little bit about those advantages that that hosts have. Hosts have phantoms. That's a pretty obvious advantage that they have, that they can make use of. And if they're using those circulate rings, even if they lose their allies, they can send in a constant stream of blues to do their bidding. And that can be very helpful. Blues may not always be helpful. Blues come in all shapes, sizes, and skill sets. Some blues might know what's up. Most don't feel like it, but hey, you have something. Sometimes extra swinging arms is enough. Another bonus that hosts tend to have is they have far more flasks than an invader has. Usually, your flasks tend to be cut in half, and there's of course exceptions. Low-level invasions, a host may not have gotten his flask upgrades just yet. I'm talking about generally at meta levels, the host will have more flasks. And You know, it's... When people would invade back in Dark Souls 3 and there would be solo hosts, for instance, you would find hosts often in the middle of a struggle. They'd either be running around, running away from a bunch of enemies, or they would be just surrounded, or they would be low on flasks. They'd been progressing through the level. That was normal, that was expected. It happened all the time because anytime you were embered in Dark Souls 3, in that embered state, you were available to be invaded. Elden Ring, not so much. And so usually when you run into a solo host in Elden Ring, they're always somewhere safe, they're usually far away from enemies, and they almost always have their blue ring on. That blue circlet. No, they have the white circlet that summons the blues. And so they have all those advantages. Sometimes they'll have a great rune on. They'll have their rune arc activated. And so they'll have more flasks than you. They'll have a stream of friendlies to help them out. They will have the environment on their side because they've planned it, because they've turned on the Taunter's Tongue when they want you to show up, especially in the cases where it is a solo host. And then there's a few more. Right? And I just want to harp on these for a little bit, because sometimes people, they go, oh, you're picking on these poor people. And maybe. At these low levels, I'm definitely picking on these poor people, unfortunately. At meta levels, not so. Not so at all. But one thing they tend to have is they usually are a higher level than you. Why? Well, because that's just how the invasion brackets work. Most of your invasion bracket is higher than you are. And then, that invasion bracket just doesn't account for level, it also accounts for weapon level as well. So that person could have a weapon that is 3 levels above yours, which is, you know, more damage per hit. They'll have more health, maybe, they'll have more damage. And then their whole team gets that sort of nonsense. And then they might have an overleveled phantom, or maybe just in the act of bringing in random friends, or sorry, random strangers to be their co-opers, or bringing in blues, they also have a bracket that can be higher than the host by a good deal. And so you could be a good deal lower than the host, and then the friends can be a good deal higher than the host, even through just the natural matchmaking process. And so they have all of these tools in their repertoire that they may not even be aware of, but it's things that they have, and that's because the invader is not meant to win, usually. They're meant to sap some resources, provide a good story. I've talked about this ad nauseum, but it's a good reminder that for the invaders who are at least invading at meta levels, and they find those solo hosts and those other hosts there and abouts again, that they have so many advantages. So even when you happen to win an invasion and it's not terribly glamorous, but you do happen to skirt by, that is an achievement in of itself. A little one, you know, it's a video game. It's not going to get you a promotion at your job unless... No, I can't think of a very good reason why you get a promotion at your job, unless your job is doing the Elden Ring content, I suppose, but it's likely, for the vast majority of people, not going to net them any real-world benefits. But at the end of the day, it's a little challenge, and that's kind of where the end game of Elden Ring lies, I think. It's in invading, it's in providing those varied situations and stories for hosts to deal with. And if you were worried that I was still picking on people, you may have noticed during the last couple invasions. Actually, it might just be this one. Yeah, it's just this one. This one I'm at a higher level. I'm back at level 40. So, there you go. I've had my little spiel talking about the advantages, and you've got to enjoy yourself some basic knight footage. And I like being the basic knight, and there's a lot of neat things that come with that. You feel cool for one, and you get to roleplay like an idiot. But a happy idiot nonetheless. Thanks for joining me on this short spiel. You have yourself a good one. Bye-bye now.